to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome all of our friends and neighbors and colleagues in joining us in this regularly scheduled September 16th City Council meeting. As you come in tonight, which would be to my right, to everyone else's left, there's a set of double doors. You walk through that doors, there's a desk. On that desk, there's a sign-in sheet. If you're a guest with us tonight, please sign in. City Clerk, may I have a roll call?
Yes, Councilperson Morrissey.
Here.
Palladino.
Here.
Pratt. Here. Sharp.
Here.
Soha.
Present.
Stuchel. Deere.
Yes.
Wolfram.
Here.
Mayor Stockford.
Here.
8 present.
Thank you, Katie. We have received correspondence from Councilman Stuchel. He will not be here tonight, so we'll move into approval of agenda. Does City Manager or any members of council have any changes they'd like to see made to the agenda tonight? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Veer to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We've got an agenda. We'll move into public comment on agenda items only. During this time, the podium will be open. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please limit your trips to 1 to the podium. Remember, this is on agenda items only, so if you speak during this particular public comment period, make sure it's something that has a direct tie to something that's present on the agenda tonight. Also, we've got this handy dandy new timer. I'm still getting used to it, but we are going to be very strict about the 3-minute time limit. So if you get cut off, I'm sorry. We're not being rude. I'm not trying to be rude, but it's just how we're going to do it. So podium's now open.
Ray Briner, 73 East Sharp Street. Good afternoon, Council. I come to you tonight to speak on behalf of the Fair Parade and the cost associated with the Fair Parade. It's come to my knowledge that it's going to cost the fair about $2,800 this year to put on the parade that's been put on for as long as I've been alive, and probably as long as everybody's been alive in this room. It's something that happens every year. It's been a minimal fee, I think, every year, maybe under $100 to pull the permits and have the barricades put up and everything like that. So when we were told what the bill was going to be this year, I was kind of blown away. I know I spoke on this probably about 365 days ago, and you guys were going to address the fee schedule and take a look at it and come back with something better. And I don't think this is better. Just to kind of point out some bigger cities than us. City of Lansing. Does anybody know what the cost of a parade is in the city of Lansing? $1,500 flat fee. City of Detroit, way bigger than us, flat fee, $400 for an 8-hour closure of a right-of-way. I think it might be $1,200 for a 24-hour closure of a right-of-way. So I think we need, as a city, to go back and address this. I know there's been some events in the downtown area, like Summer in the City, the Light Up Parade, all events that bring people to the downtown area, you know, going to Checkered Records, Jilly Beans, the local eatery, you know, the filling station. We want to attract people downtown. We don't want empty spots in our downtown area. And if these things can help bring people to Hillsdale, it's a wonderful thing. The fair does. The fair brings a lot of people from Jackson County. I don't know how many people I've talked to in Jackson that won't go to the Jackson County Fair. They come to Hillsdale County Fair because it's nice, it's peaceful, you know, there's shade, we have farm animals, lots of them. So I think as a council we need to, and as a city, we need to readjust that fee schedule and something more manageable, a flat fee, $250, $500, whatever it is. I think we paid $500 last year for the parade, which was acceptable to us, you know, a flat fee. we're fine with that, but $2,800 it's crazy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Back to my same two agenda items.
One moment, please, Shannon.
Oh yeah, get my timer started.
There we go. Thank you, Shannon. Go ahead.
My one challenge back to you guys is still to make the airport self-sufficient. I know you guys can't get the whole $120,000 down, but there's a lot of stuff you can do to make the airport not take so much of our budget money away. I've been researching other airports and, they're kind of self-sufficient. We have the commodity we have, and the people who use the airport, not just the college, but everyone who uses the airport, needs to be able to pay their fair share on using the airport, according to everything I'm reading about aviation. Our gas prices are comparable with all the counties around us. I've checked all those out. We can raise cash, but you guys can figure that out. I'm just challenging you, get those, get that part, make our airport self-sufficient. Also, special assessments. Years ago, we didn't have special assessments. I work for the Register of Deeds. I know the little old ladies, little men, people come in there and they're like, I can't afford $5,000. So you guys need to kind of look at that and see, why are we charging special assessments now when all the property that's sold in Hillsdale are uncapping? When they uncap, taxes go up. So there's a lot more revenue coming in for these roads. And I also found out that if a person owns 8 properties on a road and somebody else owns 2, that person who owns 8 only has to pay $5,000, and the other 2 also have to pay $5,000. So it's something to really think about to stop this special assessment. This is not fair to our city. It's not fair to our residents. It's not fair to the older people, the new people, when we have revenue. Just find the revenue and do something. Get it down from 5,000, get it to 1,000, do something to bring that down. And I have 56 seconds.
Thank you, Shannon. Any more public comment regarding agenda items? Seeing none, we'll close the podium and we'll move into the consent agenda. We've got approval of bills, city and BPU claims of August 29th, payroll of August 29th, city council minutes of September 3rd, zoning board minutes of August 14th, finance minutes of September 2nd, investment report as of June 30th, 2024, fair parade and parking restrictions. There's a TCO for the train event, leaking low tap changer repair, failed reclosers replacement, then there's Union Street substation transformer bushing replacement, and then finally Hillsdale County Fairgrounds parade fair agreement. Is there any discussion or questions regarding any of the items on the consent agenda? Councilman Beer?
I had some questions on the investment report and just the return. The city, we have about close to 11 million in it. Yield to maturity is like 2.8%. If you go further down on page 30, it kind of breaks it down to different amounts. And basically my question is because a lot of these interest rates that we have are like 0.45%, 0.75, 0.375. And on those that have those really low ones, we have unrealized loss on them. And I'm assuming that's because if you sell it, you have to sell it at a discount.
Yes, that's true.
Okay. And then, but one of the reasons for having these conservative investment options would be that it would kind of protect the city's money.
Yes, and we're restricted by state statute of what we can invest in. So that's also part of the process.
And I also noticed, David, on these, it has the average maturity is only like 2 point, was like duration or weighted average maturity, 2.23 years. And you have a lot of different investments kind of to lessen the risk, I suppose, on that. And going forward though, as these are maturing, is the city able to get better interest rates?
Yes, they are. Actually, right now, they're probably about 5%. So they are increasing, but it all depends on the market.
And David, on that, the 11 million, is that in, where's that money in the city? Is that just general fund money?
That is probably a mixture of the BPU and the general fund.
BPU is in that too, okay. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Drew. Thank you, Dave. Any other discussion on any of the items in the consent agenda? Councilman Soha?
Thank you, Mayor. With the late addition of the Clip Parade Fair agreement and with Mr. Briner's comments about the cost, I don't see those costs in the agreement. Is that a completely separate issue?
Yes.
Okay, and then I thought that the state, one of the parades that was excluded from any costs was the Veterans Parade, and that this is considered a Veterans Parade. So, can you help me understand that?
Veterans parades are excluded. I'm not sure about this particular situation.
Yeah, so when Mr. Bryan was speaking, I was just checking the tape. You passed an ordinance in 2023, and she would have the date, that designated certain events as city-sponsored events. And one of those is the County Fair Parade. It was the Summer in the City, the Light Up Parade, the 4th of July Parade, the County Fair Parade, the Veterans Day observance, and Hillsdale High School homecoming. And then later in the ordinance it says that city-sponsored events shall not be subject to the permitting or payment of costs provisions of subsection E and G of this section, which laid out that the city would set a resolution from time to time on charges for non-city sponsored events, for non-city, what we call defined as special events in the ordinance. So, as I read the ordinance, that would seem to indicate that those were, because the ordinance designated those as things that were partially sponsored by the city, that because those were city events, there was another statutory provision that allowed the city to arguably not have to collect the costs that it otherwise would as a matter of law. So we did adopt that ordinance, and it does list the county fair parade as one of the events that was considered a city sponsored event.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Tom. With that in mind, would you agree from a legal position that we are not required to charge the fair because of that ordinance, and we can, therefore I would suggest that if within the bounds of the law, we can refund anyone who's already paid and keep the fair parade within a city-sponsored event.
It was under my understanding, after speaking with Lori Hall from the fair and also the organizers from the HBA, that what they were offered was a 50% discount.
Yeah, and so the premise under which we adopted this particular ordinance, or that you adopted it, there, was that there's a statute that allows for the city to sponsor or pay for public events that relate to tourism and other types of things, and that those that are not subject to that requirement that you have the fair value for the use of the city's assets. does say that the city-sponsored events are exempt from the subsections of the ordinance that relate to income costs.
Councilman Pelletier.
I thought those events we were exempting labor and materials, so they would still pay the permit, which is 75, and the greater than the single block closure, which is 300 or so.
So
So it's about $400.
the payment of cost provision says the city council shall from time to time by resolution adopt a policy which sets forth the amounts that sponsors or other persons responsible for the special event must pay to the city to reimburse the city for the use of city equipment and city services, including without limitation the city's labor costs. Such policy shall have full force and effect of an ordinance, et cetera, et cetera. So, yes, that would suggest that those would be the costs that you are exempted from if you're a city-sponsored event. There are provisions in it that deal with permitting for special events, which again are not the city-sponsored events, so these distinctions made. Again, whether or not that specifically would exclude being able to charge for the issuance of equipment is another thing. There's a provision in the statute, or excuse me, in the ordinance that does require anyone who is co-sponsoring the city-sponsored event to get their plans out 90 days beforehand and all that kind of stuff. So, I think that you're probably right that you would still be charging under this particular ordinance for the actual fee for the issuance of the permit.
Then, if I'm understanding correctly, we could revise what we have charged the fair for this year's parade to the fees that Councilman Palladino reminded us of, and bring it to $375 instead of $2,800. Am I understanding
I'm
that
not sure if
correctly?
that's the right number.
Whatever the
Yeah.
numbers are. Yeah, don't hold us to the 375, whatever the permitting fees are. Am I understanding correctly that we could request the city revise the charges to the fair for the parade to those fees?
Yes.
Thank you, Tom. Well, so we should do that post haste because, we might even actually be able to probably not save the light up parade from being hauled into Hillsdale County Fairgrounds, but
On the same way, it's too late for that, that's already in motion for this year.
Councilman Sharp.
I will add this. I was on the fire department for all those years, and we used to go up to the fairgrounds, and we worked the fairgrounds. We got paid by the city to work the fairgrounds. And the last few years, the fire department goes up there and doesn't get paid. They volunteer their time, they volunteer their equipment for the demolition derby and the tractor pulls. So we are providing a service, and we're not getting reimbursed for it because it's in the city limits. But that's just, I just wanted to get that out on the table. We do provide services to the fair at no cost to them. So let's be fair about that too.
I appreciate that, I believe that's a separate issue. This is for the parade. If we want to charge the fairgrounds for fire protection, then that's something we need to consider.
I'm not saying that, I'm just bringing it up.
That's what you did say, Councilman.
Well, there's a lot of things that say about.
Nevertheless, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mackey, if, Tom, thank you for your counsel, I would like to approve this consent agenda with the understanding that we request the city revise the charges to the fairgrounds to just the permit fees.
I would say that needs to be a separate item under new business, not part of the consent agenda.
Thank you for clarification, Mr. Mackey. I would then ask to add under new business, the revision of the fair parade fees. And I will make a motion to approve the agenda with that addition.
I'll second
Hold on a second, Tom, so we've already approved the agenda. We were approving the consent agenda.
In the context of that, the motion could be made to remove an item from the consent agenda. At this point, we have a place to do business, and if the council votes to do that, the agenda is the council's, so the council will do that.
Then I revise I would approve the consent agenda under moving the fair parade agreement into new business.
We need a motion to remove item K from the consent agenda and add it to new business item letter D. Let's do that as one motion on the floor, seconded by Councilman Wolfram.
Discussion.
Councilman Beer.
And isn't that, item F, fair parade? I know, but I understand that, but I don't know where's that, okay.
We're in the agreement, which is item K.
Okay.
I can go back here and look again, because we have not approved the consent agenda, but
Fair parade parking is first what we're looking at.
I know I see that.
He didn't get the new one, he tried to do it.
Oh, okay.
He's got,
Got it.
those are revised.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Got it. So-
I'm good.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Wolfram, to remove item letter K, Hillsdale County Fairgrounds Parade Fair Agreement from the consent agenda and add it to new business as item letter D. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Now, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved. Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Beer, to approve the consent agenda as amended. Can I have a roll call, City Clerk?
Yes, Councilperson Palladino,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Soha,
Yes.
Beer,
Yes.
Wolfram,
Yes.
Mayor Slackford.
Yes.
Councilperson Morrissey.
Yes.
Okay, zero approved.
Thank you, Katie. We will move out of the consent agenda and we'll move into communications petitions. Item letter A, Airport Community Benefits Assessment Report. Ginger?
Good evening, everyone. Mayor, Councilman. I have brought Hillary Hoos and Kelly Badra from MDOT Aero here to explain the community benefits assessment that they are in charge of and do a great job of presenting, so I hope they can answer any questions on that.
Hello, Council. My name is Hillary Hoos. I'm with the Michigan Department of Aeronautics. So today we are talking about the economic benefit assessment for Hillsdale Airport. So our office, the MDOT Office of Aeronautics, we administer the Airport Improvement Program, enforce the Michigan Aeronautics Code. Kelly and our specialty is the Michigan Tall Structure Act. Our office inspects and licenses all public use airports. We handle airport planning and zoning, emerging aviation, and promote aviation safety. Aviation in Michigan. We have 208 licensed public use airports in the state of Michigan, 6 licensed public use heliports, over 16,000 active pilots, over 5,000 registered aircraft with 17 scheduled airlines, 6 aircraft manufacturers, 2 million aircraft operations annually, and 16 airports that have regularly scheduled air service. Transportation networks in Michigan. Aviation is one of the 4 main transportation networks available. Residents, visitors, and businesses all use Michigan's airports daily to transport goods, services, people in and out and around the state. Aviation plays a very unique role in Michigan due to the remote island locations that may not be accessible otherwise. Airports form a transportation network just as our highway systems do. Michigan's public use airports provide access to the nation's 5,193 airports. So Michigan makes up 4.3% of the nation's airports. The business of general aviation. General aviation, also known as GA, is everything other than commercial air service. Typically in Michigan, we see things like ag spraying, emergency and medical operations, firefighting, flight training, aerial photography, remote access, personal and business travel, and cargo. Hillsdale Airport has an annual operations of around 3,650 flights and over 52,000 gallons of fuel sales. They have about 20 base aircraft. Aviation and Michigan's economy. Aviation is vital to the economy and the quality of life for Michigan residents. It is essential to attract and retain industries. When time is crucial, which is overnight delivery, so your Amazon, FedEx, UPS, manufacturing, police, firefighting, search and rescue, and health. With Hillsdale Municipal Airport, they have a lot of community involvement, such as the fly-in with aircraft on display, as well as EAA Young Eagles airplane and helicopter rides. They have flight schools, local school tours, the Civil Air Patrol Squadron. They do a lot of school outreach and newspaper participation. So this is a quick view of the Part 77 protections that the Hillsdale Municipal Airport has. We can go more into this if needed, but this is kind of what it looks like from an aerial version of the protections that the airport has, and these are all imaginary surfaces. So what we're here to talk about is the Michigan Aviation System Plan. This is a key policy and guidance document that is used to determine federal and state funding at all of Michigan's public use airports. It was updated in 2017, and we're hoping for an update coming in 2025. The overall state impact of Tier 1 and Tier 2 airports in Michigan was nearly $22 billion and 184,000 jobs. Hillsdale Municipal Airport was placed in the southeast region of Michigan. So the mass system standards were applied to all 226 airports in order to determine Tier 1, 2, or 3 airports for each goal. After analysis, these airports were assigned an overall mass tier based on the highest tier obtained, and an overall mass reference code which corresponds to the highest ARC assigned. So we will get more into that. Tier 1 airports respond to essential and critical state system goals and objectives. Tier 2 complement the essential and critical state airport systems, and Tier 3 duplicate services provided by other airports. There were about 86 airports that landed in Tier 1, and Hillsdale was one of them. So the 8 mass goals were population center, which is the proximity of commercial service and GA airports to population centers. This is important to provide aviation access to the most populated areas of Michigan. The mass population centers are identified as areas of 5,000 or more with a density of 250 or more per square mile. Tier 1 airports were those that were necessary to reach all defined population centers within a 30-minute drive time. 42 airports total were classified as Tier 1. So this, you can see a map of all of the Tier 1 and Tier 2 airports for that population center goal. For the business center goal, business centers rely on commercial service and general aviation airports to provide year-round transportation, people, goods, and services to local businesses. They provide aviation access within a reasonable drive time of the business centers. Tier 1 airports were those that were necessary to reach all defined business centers within a 30-minute drive time. 52 airports in Michigan were classified as a Tier 1, including Hillsdale. The National Plan of Integrated Airport Systems, also known as NIPIAS. This identifies nearly 3,400 existing and proposed airports that are significant to national air travel and are eligible to receive federal grants under the Airport Improvement Program. As of 2022, 95 of Michigan's system airports were included in the NIPIAS. GA airports that are included in the NIPIAS were designated as Tier 2. So the areas that Hillsdale received a Tier 2 or Tier 3 were tourism center, general population, regional capacity, isolated areas, and land coverage. So overall, Hillsdale received a Tier 1 for the 2017 MASC update. So this is a picture of the report card that came out of that MASC. Based on the tier and the arc that was assigned to Hillsdale, this is the goals that we would like to see for the airport. And you do have a few no's on here, but again, that does not mean that the airport is insufficient in any way. These are the goals that we would like to see when looking at those tiers and those arcs. So what we're all here for is the Hillsdale Municipal Economic Benefit Assessment. So here is just a few snippets of the airport, the runway length, just some details. So here are the numbers. This is the ongoing economic contribution of the airport. EBA worksheets were completed by airport managers to identify economic indicators and activities within each local airport. The worksheets were then entered into an economic benefit assessment tool that gauges the economic impact of each system airport based on those data inputs. This is an updated EBA from what was seen in the 2017 MASC, and the background data is currently running off 2022 dollars. And the background data comes from InPlan. So these direct effect numbers that you see on airport represents activities that occur on the airport grounds. So these activities would not occur if the airport was not there. At Hillsdale, we have airport managers, line managers, aircraft maintenance, facility staff. The off-site are supported by visitor spending impacts, and they include all off-airport expenditures made by air travelers who are visiting. This information was captured using actual visitor surveys received directly from the visitors at Hillsdale Airport, with an average of $392 being spent by each visitor passing through the airport. The $392 spent by these travelers provided 9 local jobs. And that is just for the small time frame that the surveys were at the airport and the people who actually stopped to take the time to fill them out. The off-site air-reliant jobs are companies that would not be in this community if you did not have a local airport. Hillsdale is very lucky to have Hillsdale College, Ritz Craft Manufacturing, Pro Air, CL Enterprise, and Meyer that all use the local airport to help sustain their businesses. The impacts on the screen are reported as jobs, income, and output. Jobs are the positions that are created as a result of the aviation industry at Hillsdale. The income will refer to payroll, and that is the amount of money earned in a calendar year as well as the benefits. Output refers to the business sales or business expenditures. So as you can see here, the Hillsdale Municipal Airport has a direct labor income impact of just under $4 million locally. Statewide output impact of over $4 million. And that is just the direct impact of this airport. Underneath that red box is the multiplier effect. So these indirect impacts reflect the recycling of dollars or the trickle-down effect. This goes through both the local and state economies. So the core concept behind the trickle-down effect is that money spent in the economy does not disappear. and rather moves in successive rounds until exported from the region and state. They circulate among other industry sectors, creating waves of re-spending effects. This gives us the full impact of each dollar generated due to the local airport, for a total of $16 million locally through the multiplier effect, and $24.5 million of state economic impact just by Hillsdale Municipal Airport. Our system uses a very conservative induced formula compared to other systems in other states, which give us a very reasonable output number. Your community in Hillsdale is very fortunate to have an airport. If you were to lose the community airport, it is extremely unlikely that you will have another, as the FAA current guidelines require in-depth analysis for approving more than one NIPIAS airport within a county. Aviation, including GA, has an important role within the overall transportation system and has a positive economic benefit for a community. Hillsdale Municipal Airport has a significant impact on the local and state economy, as we saw with those numbers. So here is my contact, as well as Kelly Batter, and we do have cards on hand if you guys would like to reach out to us at our office for more information.
Thank you so much, Hillary. Any questions for Hillary while she's at the podium? Councilman Palladino?
You said there are how many airports in Michigan?
When we did the mass, I believe it was 200 and, we are down to about 206 right now. We have had a few closures in the past years.
Do you know what percentage of those airports rely on some sort of tax revenue to operate?
I believe all of them do, with a, coming in with that state and local match to the federal dollars.
Interesting stuff. Thank you, Hillary. Anybody else? Councilman Beard?
Just another question. On the 208, 206 airports in Michigan, how many have the capability of having jets land?
That is a great question. I do not know offhand. That would be determined on the runway lane.
Anybody else? Councilman Sharp?
Yeah, I was just looking at the map, it said northeast was number 3, and then northwest was number 4, and that kind of surprises me with all the air travel in Traverse City. And then on the northeast side, you have Alpena, I believe, and a few others, but it just seems like Traverse City's a lot bigger. That's just strange.
We had some surprising outcomes on that. We did use the visitor spending surveys at the airports to help these numbers, and if we did not have enough visitor spending surveys, we did use kind of an overall for that prosperity region, so that could have a little bit of impact on those.
Anything else, ladies, gentlemen?
So the basic claim of this report for our purposes is that 33 jobs are created or are sustained in Hillsdale that wouldn't otherwise be here without the airport. That's what the report claims.
Let me go back to this. So those on airport that are aviation related is 7. The off-site air reliant, yes, are 33. So those are jobs at businesses that if you guys didn't have an airport, they would not be able to operate in the community. So they would most likely find another community that has an airport local to them or nearby. And those are the amount of positions that would have not been able to be held because of that.
And that's Ritzcraft and Meyer and all. Do you have a list of the
I do
companies?
not have a list of the exact positions that that is entailing.
Okay.
She said Ritzcraft, Pro Air, CL Enterprises, Hillsdale College.
68% says the college.
Okay. Yeah, I guess guess I'm just wondering, where is the 33 coming from? Because if they're airport reliant and we lost the airport, we would lose hundreds of jobs. Right, so I guess I'm just wondering where the 33 comes from.
Yeah, so I believe those are kind of the positions in that the amount of full-time positions in that company that relate to that aviation side. So they are saying that if that airport were to go, it would be equivalent to the 33 positions. And I can try to get you a list as well and send those off to the council.
Thank you.
Councilman Wolfram?
Yes, I would like to follow up with Councilman Beer on how many, if you could let us know how many airports are capable of landing jets.
Yeah, definitely.
You guys have her email, right? It was on there. She said she's got cards, so if you guys want.
Yeah, I can leave a couple cards over here on the table.
Very in-depth report. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me pull this up real quick. There you go. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Ellie. Okay, we'll move on to communications petitions to item letter B, 2024 City Bow Hunting Program, and I don't see Officer Pratt here, and I don't see Chief Hunter here either.
That was just for information purposes, Mayor.
I understand that, that's why it was in communications, but I just thought maybe, they might have something to add to it. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know if council's aware, but we did receive 2 emails this afternoon. They mirrored each other about that there's some in the community that think that fee schedule and what was on our agenda today is it's an example of the city's addiction to bureaucracy and stupidity, is what they said. And I didn't appreciate the stupidity part, but basically, to summarize what they're saying is if they have to get state licenses already and the state does background checks, then it seems like the city's efforts to do the same are duplicating it and unnecessary. Therefore, I would just prefer or appreciate understanding legal ramifications, other things for allowing people to hunt on city property, especially when the housing is so dense in most of the areas. If just some clarification there.
Well, perhaps public safety can call a meeting and have the police chief come in and speak. I remember I was on council when we instituted the city bow hunt, and you might have been on council as well. It was a long time ago. Anyways, we had quite a few meetings that covered it. I honestly don't remember. It was so many years ago that I don't remember the exact details of it, but maybe public safety could call a meeting, ask the police chief to come speak, and you guys could explore options with the city bow hunt. Councilman Sharp?
I want to first approach the deer calling thing. The deer are owned and run by the state of Michigan. In order to do a deer calling, you bring in sharpshooters, not just Johnny Republican. Lives in the Northwoods somewhere, comes in here with a 30-06. The bullets they shoot, when they hit the deer, they just explode. They don't go through the deer. So they're specially made bullets, because if you remember that, we had them up there on Bacon. We had the DNR in here, they had stations set up, so when the hunters were there, they also had it posted, warned people to stay away from that area, because there was active hunting going on in there.
Yeah, that's when we did the professional calling.
Right, that was the deer call. Well, it was mentioned in here about the deer call. The bow hunting, the same thing. Things have changed a lot now. We have crossbows. They're a lot more dangerous than normal compound bow is. So you have to be careful there. And you just don't walk on somebody's property. We're kind of suggesting they could go on anybody's property if they want to hunt. No, you want to know who's there on your property. There are plenty of deer. We could shoot all the deer in this county, wipe them out in City Hillsdale next year, they look like they're right back again. Because if you figure out a doe, a mother deer will have twins or triplets, and just think in 10 years how many deer come out of that mother related to her. It's constant. Jackson tried it. up in Ellis Sharps Park. They keep trying it. And when they stop for a year or two, all of a sudden, boom, explosion again. Most of these deer we have in the city are in the city because we have a lot of wooded areas. But there's also deer outside the city coming in. Of course, up at college, we got that beautiful wooded area up there. There's deer everywhere. It's just something we're gonna have to deal with. I mean, they're here. How do you deal with them? It's not an easy solution.
Did you have something to add, Dave?
Just to the point of the state does not do background checks for deer licenses. And we're allowing them to hunt within the community. And that's the reason behind that. But the state does not do those.
Councilman Beard?
I kind of like the redundancy of this, the fact that, because the key part of there is, you have the private property. I happen to have one of those parcels where it is allowed for someone to go back and hunt these deer in the city limits. And being a property owner, I definitely like to know who that is. And they actually have to get permission, but it's kind of like anything else, just the redundancy. When you go to the doctor, how many people, date of birth, name, and just because it's better to ask a bunch of times and not have to deal with an issue about, well, I didn't know at the end of it. So I appreciate that, that thoroughness, and I think our local law enforcement has our backs much more than somebody on that scene.
Any more conversation on that?
Do they donate the meat?
I believe they do.
Do they all us the
I believe they do. Well, I believe that it was donated to King's Cover Food Pantry. Is that correct, Dave?
Is this for the calling or the?
That was
calling. That was a call, that was donated. But
Okay.
the bow hunt, actually, they tagged it and keep it.
Thank you for that clarification, Dave. Councilman Palladino, did you have something?
Yeah, I think the point that was being made in the email is even simpler. It's already illegal to hunt on someone's property, even to walk through someone's property to chase a deer. So if you go out to any of the townships and you shoot a deer and you're tracking the blood, it's like it's a several $100 fine, I believe, to go through their property without getting permission of the owner. So this is already illegal. So if someone's on your property hunting or even chasing a deer, you can call the cops on them. If someone could correct me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So the permit is just sort of telling them in advance, but also involving the city. I don't know. It doesn't seem terribly necessary. If you are hunting improperly anywhere, you're going to commit a crime. So I don't know that we need to permit it beforehand when there's already laws in place. But
Like I said, maybe call, I don't know who's on public safety, I should know these things, but I don't remember. You're on public safety, aren't you? Okay, yeah, have a meeting, go, get the chief, talk about it.
Yes.
Councilman Turk.
I will give an example of it. My son bow hunted right next to Will's property. He shot a deer. He went over to Will's house and asked permission to go on his property to get the deer. He followed the protocol.
That is correct, and you even gave me some venison afterwards.
Nice.
okay, but there raises a question. So you go to the city, you get permission. I'm hunting on Tony's property. You shoot the deer, then you have to go get permission and check with the city to go chase it onto the next property. Then what is this with the city of saying that you have to tell the city whose property you're gonna hunt on? Am I understanding that correctly?
That's more to keep track of where the hunters are located within the city. It's not for tracking purposes, but for what they're describing there, it's for, so that we know that where these different folks are at, because we do get calls and complaints as well. So that's why we request to know what property they're hunting on.
Okay. And are they paying the fee when they say, in order to say which property they're hunting on?
They're paying the fee when they submit the application because it's based on a background check. They
else, guys? Good information? Thank you. All right, we'll move onward in communications petitions to item letter C, leaf and brush collection schedule, October 28th through December 12th, 2024. And all the information is on these sheets here. Ward 1, first round, 1028. Second round, 1118. Ward 2, 1113 and 1210. Ward 3, 116 and 123. And Ward 4, 1031 and 1122. So if you want to know more about that, that's in the packet. Next item is the quarterly newsletter, which coincidentally enough has the leaf collection schedule in it. So everybody should get that in their Board of Public Utility bills. There's some information on the fair, and those newsletters are always great. So. And now the last item in communications petitions is Hillsdale County Commissioner update. Commissioner Ingles.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, City Manager. My update, I did attend the house tour of new homes on Friday at 3 Meadows. It's a very nice ad in our community. It's a nice house, it's a great tour, nice explanations, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, very nice home. It'd be a good ad. Our courthouse project is wrapping up. The punch list has begun, and target completion is November 15, with scaffolding removed, tuck pointing, new copper, and roof being complete. We are in budget season. County department heads and electeds are presenting their budget requests. Naturally, there are more requests than revenue. The budget committee will be working hard to put together and present a balanced budget to the Board of Commissioners. And at our last meeting, Lifeways has announced the location of their new building located on the corner of Industrial Drive and Beck Road that will open up the current Lifeways building for moving the district court. And that completes my update. Any
Very good.
questions?
Thank you, Doug. Any questions for Doug? Councilman Sharp?
You will have cost of the courthouse when it's all done, I hope. I'm just curious of how much it costs to do that. It's capped at 10 million, 400,000, I think. That's the total cost. Total cost guaranteed, nothing going over it. Nothing for what's in the budget and what's planned for the exterior. We will have to move on to the inside, but the exterior, that number of dollars is set. No surprises. Thank you.
Any more questions for Commissioner Ingles? Thank you, Doug.
Yep.
Appreciate it. All right, we will move into introduction, adoption of ordinances / public hearing. And item letter A, street plan amended ordinance. Dave.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the third part that we had spoke about in regards to the college project and the vacation of the, that portion of Galloway and Summit. So what this does is actually instructs the city to vacate the streets and alleys shall be eliminated from the city's street plan map by ordinance. So that's what this is doing, the ordinance. And then as I had indicated, the next step is the colleges, which needs to be a petition to the court.
Okay, easy stuff. Any questions? Motion
Move
to
to adopt the ordinance to vacate the streets.
motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Veer to adopt the amended ordinance to vacate the street. Can I have a roll call, please, City Clerk?
I have to say, do I have to accuse myself of this?
Okay.
Thank you, City Clerk.
Councilperson Pratt? Yes. Sharp?
Yes.
Soha?
Yes.
Beer?
Yes.
Wolfram?
Abstain.
Mayor Stockford?
Yes.
Councilperson Morrissey? and Councilperson Palladino.
Abstain.
5-3, all 5, 3 abstains, so it passes.
Thank you, Kate.
6-2.
No, 6-0, yeah. 6-0, 2 abstentions. Thank you, Kate. We'll move on. There's no old business, so we'll move into new business. Item A, certification of abandoned property for accelerated forfeiture act. And this is a resolution. I don't see Kim, Dave.
So this is what we typically do annually to kind of speed up the process on some of our problem properties. And that's what this ordinance is, just a resolution identifying those properties. Code enforcement.
Okay. Any discussion on it?
Move to adopt the resolution.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Morrissey. Can I have a roll call, City Clerk?
Yes. Councilperson Sharp?
Yes.
Soha?
Yes.
Beer?
Yes.
Wolfram?
Yes.
Mayor Stockford?
No.
Councilperson Morrissey?
Yes.
Palladino?
No.
And Pratt?
No.
5 yes, 3 no. It's approved. Resolution 3616.
Thank you, Katie. All right, we will move on to new business item B, proposed 2025 special assessment district, Arch Avenue, Monroe Street, and Berry Street. Dave.
Thank you, Mayor. So at this phase of the special assessment process, this is the very beginning where council instructs the city engineer to prepare plans, specifications, and cost estimates. So once that is done, it would come back to the city council for consideration. There are the 3 areas that are in the packet. First is Arch Avenue, which is in the industrial park. And that, if you remember, we reported that to help with the funding there, we did get a federal earmark to assist with that. So that one does have grant fundings tied to it. But that is, I believe there's one house on that, right at the intersection on 34 and Arch Avenue. The second, Monroe Street, is from Hillsdale Street to West Street, in front of the BPU, the MDOT rail facility, the Greek Orthodox Church, and then there's a block of residents there, also reading emergency, yes. So that is for that to be designed as the street is failing with locks there, as that goes down it. Berry Street is actually a street that was moved up on the urgency list because we've been having a number of, in the last 6 months, I think they've had 2 water main breaks, and there's issues with the sewer lines there. So that project, while the street curbs are in good shape, the stuff under the street is failing, and the water and sewer departments actually need to do some work there. So the road component of that will probably be at a lesser cost. Because that's our intention and hope. Because if the curb doesn't have to be replaced, then we'll be in good shape. So with this, that's what we're asking is for council to just approve for the engineer to put together the plans, specifications, and costs to come back to council.
Thanks, Dave. I know this is out of order, but the bricks, I mean, are we gonna save those, do anything with them? It's kind of sad, it's the last brick street in the whole city, it's just some sort of sentimentality, you know?
Yes, Mayor. I guess to answer your question, we typically would put those at DPS. I think that's what happened with some of the other brick, and residents were able to either take them for free or there was a modest cost to it. I don't remember, but we would keep them so people could utilize them.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion on these items?
Just the engineering stuff, correct? That's all this.
Yes, that's all this is.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Just, Mr. McAfee, would you please just remind us how many miles or partial miles we did this year? Or we already processed it?
I'm gonna ask Jason to come up. Do you know the answer to that off the top of your head?
I don't know off the top of my head, sir, no. I can get that number for you up to tomorrow.
That'd be great, thank you.
But there's east or west St. Joe, down south, there's Westwood.
Glendale, Iowa,
Yeah.
Gregarious.
So we'll get you the exact amounts, I just don't have it in front of me.
If I may, real quick, we just updated on the city website, the construction map for this year, so it should be on there, how much construction we have this year on there. And I'll find it and I'll send it out as well.
And Jason, if you can look it up while you're sitting there, maybe you can report it later.
Am I correct to think that these numbers are going to vary depending on how much in terms of state grants we get? Is that right, so on a 3-year cycle, I think, something like that?
Yeah, the St. Joe project was a 3-year cycle grant. It was $385,000 we received for major.
So that would account for the fact that we're not doing as much next coming year as we did this year.
Correct. That is part of it. Yes.
Okay, any more discussion? Councilman Palladino?
Is the city still projecting $5,000 per parcel?
I think that's law and special assessment, isn't it, in our charter?
That is, well, no,
Up to.
that's the max that we have in our plan, a max of 5,000, but it depends on the specific project, and what's included in that. Like, for example, on Berry Street, it could potentially be less if we're able to keep the majority of the curb cut. Because then it would just be the street we're replacing and not all the concrete. So it all depends on the specific street, but 5,000 is the max.
Thank you, Dave.
Yes, with the option for payments of up to 10 years, yes.
Continue.
If council is gonna continue the practice of special assessments, based on the money we have in our capital improvement fund, this new endowment, it would be great if we could at least make a commitment to get it down somewhat, $4,000. Or, that we would charge, what's our interest rate right now, about 6% on these? 6. That we could charge whatever the city is currently able to borrow money at, as a baseline. So if the city can get money for 4%, that's the maximum we charge.
Streets, public services. Talk to you guys.
That are, if we're talking about finances, that might, it could go to the finance committee.
True.
Because we're talking about.
Joint committee meeting, one of these days. Any more discussion? Do I have a motion to direct the city engineer to develop plans, specifications, and cost estimates for submittal to city council for consideration of establishment of special assessment districts for the above listed street project areas? Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Veer, I believe. All in favor? Any opposed?
Yes.
No.
Roll call vote, city clerk.
Councilperson Soha,
No.
Veer,
Yes.
Wolfram,
Yes.
Mayor Stockford,
Nope.
Councilperson Morrissey,
Yes.
Palladino,
No.
Pratt,
No,
Sharp,
Yes.
4-3, passes.
Well, there's 8 of us here, 4-4, motion fails.
Excuse me, yes, you're right.
Okay, we'll move on in our packet to item letter C, chipper replacement. Jason.
Mayor, council, real quick, Mr. Saw, 2.14 miles is what we have this year for street work. I did look online, it was sent over, just like, yeah, about 2.14. First, the chipper, as our current chippers in 2006, a Vermeer chipper, we did budget to replace that in this fiscal year. Over the last 10 years, EPU and EPS both utilize our chipper as their chipper is a 1986. Staff, as we went through the budget process, we figured it was the best, most logical for EPU and DPS to share the cost of the new chipper. Due to trading value, condition, and increase in maintenance to our current chipper, we are going to keep our old chipper. We're only going to give us $7,000 in value in trading that in. Having two chippers is ideal for storm situations, as we had a couple years ago, where we actually went rented chippers. Jake's wasn't ideal at all because they don't have the safety features of the new chippers. Both crews did demo 3 different chippers, a Vermeer, a Mobark, and Bandit, BPU and DPS. After a week or so of running each equipment, we did find the Vermeer was a better fit for our outfit, as it's pretty close to what we currently have. Safety-wise, operational-wise, maintenance, the current supplies of maintenance that we have at the shop, oil filters, chippers, knives, and so forth. With that being said, the Vermeer is the most expensive out of the 3, but being that shared cost with the 2 departments, it will be easier to get our crews into the same piece of equipment we have. With the ease of maintenance, durability, safety, and consideration. With that being said, the BPU board did vote in favor of splitting the purchase of the Vermeer chipper with the city. With that, I do ask for city council to approve the purchase of the new Vermeer chipper and the total cost of $85,988.17 and $42,994.09 will be reimbursed from the Board of Public Utilities.
Thank you, Jason. Any questions for Jason? Councilman Beard.
So, Jason, we had it in our budget at $93,000.
Yes, sir.
And we're gonna actually spend $43,000.
Yes, sir. Let's split that with Board of Public Utilities.
Sounds like a good deal.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Councilman Palladino.
Do you have any hours your chipper has on it?
So last time, and it's been years because the dial reader don't work, but it's probably got 12 to 15,000 hours right now.
Oh, wow, okay. I was just looking this up, I found a 2022 Vermeer, 500 hours on it for 20,000 less, so I'm wondering, do we need to buy it new? Can we find a used option?
Sure, the big thing that comes with that is the warranty as well. If something goes off for 3 years, we're gonna be covered on it and so forth. And we did get 18 years out of it, we're still gonna have our machine still for, can't say for how long, but we're still gonna have it in our display, under our studios for the next couple of years. We know what we have right now, instead of going buying a used machine that we don't necessarily know.
Okay. Even if it could be the same machine, just a year or 2 old model?
Well, every machine is different. Like, I'll be honest, our machine we've used very, very hard over the years because it is a violent piece of machinery. With those machines, that's why we only have about $7,000 trading value on that machine that we have right now. 7,000, correct. Yeah.
7,000?
Correct.
Sorry. I mean, if the motor hasn't maintained properly, you need a new diesel motor, you're probably looking at 20,000 right there. Just from the engine.
You mean if you buy it used?
If you buy it used and the engine fails, you're probably looking at 20,000. So that engine, so that's to me not worth the risk.
Okay. How long of a warranty do you get if you purchase it new?
You get 3 years on it.
Okay. Seems like it might be worth the risk for the savings.
Gotta buy it brand new for the city. Yes, yes.
Any other questions, comments?
I don't find it funny These guys are out there working, and sometimes these chippers are used right after a storm. They wanna have reliable equipment. When there's something on the market, a couple of years old, I would question why it's on the market. That's where I look at it. And I wanna make sure these guys get good, safe working equipment to have. And that's my view and opinion.
Any more discussion, questions, Councilman Palladino?
Also, so is this gonna meet the needs for the pile we have out there? Cause I believe last year we spent something like 40 or 50,000 to have wood chipped for us, right?
Yeah, so totally different piece of equipment. This is a brush chipper. That is different than what we have now.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. That piece of equipment to grind the brush at the DPS facility is $1 million. We looked at it last time when we talked.
That's right, okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Any more discussion? Motion.
So moved.
Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Sharp, seconded by Councilman Beer, to approve the purchase of one new 2024 Vermeer EC 1500 in the amount of $85,988.17. Total cost to the city of $42,994.09 after BPU reimbursement. Can I have a roll call vote, City Clerk?
Councilperson Beer,
Yes.
Wolfram,
Yes.
Mayor Stockford,
Yes.
Councilperson Morrissey,
Yes.
Palladino,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
and Solon.
Yes.
It's 8-0 approved.
Thank you, Katie. Okay, we'll move into new business item letter D, which is, parade, Hillsdale County Fairgrounds Parade Fair Agreement. What's up?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I have a correction to make, so I can be allowed to do that here before you start talking about it.
I think if you do, we should do it before we start talking about it.
You should know that. So, what I was reading from before was apparently a draft. It was on my computer that went to the committee before the ordinance was actually adopted. So at your January 16th meeting of this year, the ordinance you adopted said, city-sponsored events are the 4th of July parade and Veterans Day service, and that was it. Other parades and events may be designated by the city council from time to time by resolution. And there was a reason why you did it that way. At the same meeting, you then adopted a resolution that says that Summer in the City, Light Up Parade, County Fair Parade, and Tri-State Scenic Scheme Excursions are designated as city-sponsored events and establish a fee schedule. And that specific resolution said, that be it resolved that the Hillsdale City Council wishes to designate the following events as city-sponsored: Summer in the City, Light Up Parade, County Fair Parade, and Tri-State Scenic Scheme Excursions. And it says, be it further resolved that city-sponsored events shall receive a 50% reduction in permitting and city-provided equipment and labor costs if available. So that's why it got split out. The fair parade is still considered a city event, but it was so that it was not completely exempt from the permitting and the other fees. It just got a 50% reduction.
Which would make sense where that 50% reduction coming from. Dave?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to invite Jason up, because Jason's the one in his department who's been working on calculating the fees, so he could kind of inform you on what was said, why it was presented in the way it was.
Thank you, Senior. On the fee schedule that we did send over to the fair, there was two actually costs in there. One was for the fair parade of $4,322.36 with a 50% reduction at $2,161.18, and also the fair itself. So putting the stop signs on the highway, putting the advanced signage up, putting the no parkings in, stuff that we do just for the fair. And it's split out as well into that. We also did give that a 50% reduction. Even though that's not part of the parade, there is two costs I want you guys to be aware of that was in there. That will be billed separately, but when we sent that email over to the fairgrounds, that was noted in there.
So the 2,000 and whatever is for the fair parade and for the fair?
No, I'm so sorry. The 2,000, yes. The 2001 or 6118 is for the fair parade, and the additional 664.14 is for the fair itself. So $2,700 or so.
And that was, they were both at 50% reduction, right?
Yes, sir.
Councilman Palladino.
Is there a separate charge for the police and fire services?
So the police don't charge for their service on this. There was DPS labor, barricades, and permitting.
Sorry, you could explain this to us 10 times.
Oh, you're right.
Okay. All right. Councilman Salah?
Thank you, Mayor. So it appears that you were following the ordinance as we wrote it. So unfortunately, these fees have had a detrimental effect on events in our downtown. And everything has moved to the fairgrounds, and the fair has reached out to the mayor and said if the fees continue, this will be the last time that they do the fair through downtown, the fair parade.
The Veterans Day.
The Veterans Parade. And it's unfortunate. And if this is a Veterans Parade, which we have specifically acknowledged as one to be exempt from the fees, then I would appreciate us at least considering eliminating the fees for the fair parade this year, and then that we would take it back up again and to revisit the fee schedule for these events, because even the 50%, I spent an hour with the president of the HPA today, and he told me in no uncertain terms that the costs are prohibitive in our town. And so I would just appreciate council revisiting this and reassessing to draw the events back to our downtown corridor, including the peddlers' fees and anything else, so we can get the farmers market back on the street, things like that. The farmers market on the street was much better than in the parking lot, well received, and it allowed for parking. Having the cars downtown instead of at the fairgrounds, provided for summer in the city, provided much more foot traffic downtown, so much so that I understand the Hunt Club was complaining because they had too much business. These are good complaints that I would prefer us to have. So I would just appreciate council considering, addressing the fair as a veterans fair for cost purposes at least, and then for us to revisit the schedule again for the 2025 season.
Thank you, Councilman Salah. Councilman Palladino?
When these other cities charge a flat fee, are they charging for police and fire in addition? Do you know?
Some do and some don't. It all depends on municipalities. The ones that we brought up at Public Service Committee was Marshall, Grand Rapids, I remember some of them do, they charge for the police by the hour or by the block or so forth. It's all done different ways. Yeah, for the Detroit and the Lansing one, we haven't checked those, but for the ones we have, yes.
Okay. Yeah, it would be good to look at all that again. So we designated the two in the ordinance that are specified in state law as being totally exempt. And then we said you can set by resolution ones that'll get 50%. Was there not a third tier, a third standard or something?
No, we took it back.
That was the
listed
two?
up to that, yes, sir.
Okay.
In order for you to arguably be able to even give the reduction, it has to be something that you could argue is tied into that statute that relates to community recreation type things, or the benefits show how great it is, for example, Hillsdale basically is just the statute. So that is why certain of these events would have to be designated as a city event from that perspective. Because if it isn't at least co-sponsored by the city, then you're supposed to charge them what your costs are.
Any more discussion? I mean, we opened up a can of worms, guys, we really did. I'm ashamed that we lost that they moved the light up parade and summer in the city. And speaking with the fair manager, I don't want to be the council that chased all of our community traditions down the street because over a couple dollars. I mean, I don't know, we have to fix it. We have to figure out a way to fix it because these are events that are important to the community, that are important to the businesses in the community, and they're important to the residents in the community and their long haul traditions. And I mean, what are we doing up here?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, Mr. Bryan, still here, may I ask a clarifying question?
Yes, you may.
Ray, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Am I correct that this is a Veterans Day parade? Or a Veterans honoring parade at least?
Yes, it is. So, at the beginning of the parade, they actually meet at the fairgrounds and honor a veteran of the year at the fairgrounds. So, and to speak on it, too, lady behind me also mentioned, you know, all the schools have the day off. Usually their bands are in this parade, you know, so it's people from all over the county that's coming to Hillsdale. It's not just, you know, it's an economic driving factor for the downtown area. So, but yes, we do honor a veteran that day at the fairgrounds. So.
Thank you, Ray. Councilman Soha, continue.
With that in mind, I'd like to propose to agree to the parade fair agreement with the understanding that it is our city's Veterans Day parade and it has all the amenities established with that as far as and fee schedules are concerned.
Does that satisfy?
That's a motion.
Got a motion?
I'll second that.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Wolfram. Did you have something to add, Councilman Palladino?
Yeah.
Before we...
I'm pretty sure the state statute is referring to a specific day, a specific holiday, and that's what we were appealing to when we wrote the ordinance. It might have been a broader phrasing, but I'm not sure.
I believe the statute refers to a Veterans Day parade.
It has to, because our 4th of July parade isn't held on the 4th of July.
Okay.
So
It doesn't say that it has to be on Veterans Day. It says a Veterans Day parade.
Councilman Beer.
This is for Tom. I just, on clarity, because we're always being told that we can't give away city resources. Is there court precedence as far as where cities have been sued by giving away their resources?
Yes, there is. Some rather high-profile ones, as a matter of fact. One of which involves, those of you who are as old as me might remember when, before they built the Pontiac Silverdome, they were talking about replacing Tiger Stadium with a domed stadium to be in downtown Detroit. And there's a case involving the pledge of certain public funds, or at least the credit of Wayne County toward that particular enterprise, and the Michigan Supreme Court said, no can do, because you're pledging the assets of the public credit of Wayne County, the taxpayers, for a purely private purpose, which is the owners of the Detroit Lions and the Detroit Tigers. So, and there are other cases that say similar things, and they're interpreting provisions in the Michigan Constitution that you can't give away taxpayer assets without getting fair value for them. You can't give them for what is considered to be a private purpose.
Following up on that, the current Ford Field, current Tiger Stadium, were those partially funded with taxpayers' monies?
I don't know the details of those. You asked me, have people been sued for that? Sure. Usually, if I know, because I'm a sports fan, as I recall, what they do is, first of all, they will usually have have some sort of tax or bonds that pay for infrastructure improvements. And that's typically the contribution that the municipality makes. And I think in Detroit's case, both for Comerica Park and for Ford Field, and I think even for Little Caesars Arena, those were actually what the state and local contributions were for the infrastructure to be able to get in and out, for adjusting the streets, for building, highway on-ramps and off-ramps and all that sort of stuff. So they don't, it's technically a public improvement. It is not for a private purpose because if you increase the streets, everybody gets to use the streets, so.
One final thing on that, because I know when you go to a game, whether it be the Lions or the Tigers, you see a huge police presence. And do they get reimbursed by said Tigers, said Lions?
You'd have to ask the city of Detroit that. I'm going to assume that the answer to that question is yes. That they get reimbursed, that they get paid for that. I know in some other, in other cities they do. I can tell you that, but they're in other states, so. But as far as I know, yes, they get paid for that. They have to contribute something for that, again, because under the theory, not theory, the law, that you can't give away public assets for a private purpose. And that's the reason for that statute, right? There's no reason for the state legislature to adopt a statute that says you can fund a 4th of July parade, a Veterans Day parade, and that's all, and use public funds for that, if you could use public funds for that otherwise, right? And it's and just to get you, when you talk about court cases, there is stuff, if you look at the Michigan Municipal League, actually has a handbook that deals with this stuff. And it goes right down to you can't supply donuts for people, volunteers or people who come to aid with something, right? You can't give them food using city funds. You can't give a retired worker a watch as a gift when they retire, because that's giving away public money to a private individual. There are lots of things that you can't do. And it's again, because you're responsible for protecting gas.
Okay. Rob?
But just to clarify, Tom, that there is a provision that excludes Veterans Day observant parades from being charged fees.
It says that the city can pay for a Veterans Day, I can't remember, celebration parade, something to do with that.
Thank you, and that's what I was suggesting and alluding to and hoping we would agree.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor. There's a second. Are you guys okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call, city clerk.
Councilperson Wolfram?
Yes.
Mayor Stockford?
Yes.
Councilperson Morrissey?
Yes.
Palladino?
Yes.
Pratt?
Yes.
Sharp?
No.
Soha?
Yes.
And Councilperson Beer?
Yes.
7-1, it's approved.
Thank you, Kate. Okay, moving to miscellaneous reports. We've got two proclamations, excuse me. It's 2024 Public Power Week, and we love that because we love our Hillsdale Board of Public Utilities. Whereas the city of Hillsdale places high value on the benefits of local control of utility services and therefore operates a community-owned, not-for-profit electric utility. Whereas because we are customers and owners of the Hillsdale Board of Public Utilities and have a direct say in utility operations and policies. Whereas Hillsdale Board of Public Utilities provides our homes, businesses, farms, social service, and local government agencies with safe, reliable, and efficient electricity and employs sound business practices designed to ensure the best possible service at not-for-profit rates. Whereas the Hillsdale Board of Public Utilities is a valuable community asset that contributes to the well-being of local citizens through energy efficiency, customer service, economic development, and safety awareness. Whereas Hillsdale Board of Public Utilities is a dependable and trustworthy institution whose local operation provides many consumer protections and continues to make our community a better place to live and work and contributes to a sustainable environment. Now therefore be it resolved that Hillsdale Board of Public Utilities will continue to bring safe, reliable electricity to community homes and businesses just as it has since 1892, the year when the utility was created to serve all the citizens of the city of Hillsdale. Be it further resolved that the week of October 6th through 12th be designated Public Power Week to recognize the Hillsdale Board of Public Utilities for its contributions to the community and to educate customer owners, policymakers, and employees on the benefits of public power. Be it further resolved that our community joins hands with more than 2,000 other public power systems in the United States in this celebration of public power, which is best for consumers, businesses, the community, and the nation. Now therefore, I, Adam L. Stockford, Mayor of the City of Hillsdale, do recognize the week of October 6th through October 12th, 2024 as Public Power Week, a week-long celebration of Hillsdale Board of Public Utilities' year-round service to the City of Hillsdale. And we've got one more, proclamation for Constitution Week, and we love the Constitution too. Whereas September 17, 2024 marks the 237th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore be it resolved that we ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. Now therefore I, Adam L. Stockford, by virtue of the authority vested in me as Mayor of the City of Hillsdale, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. No appointments. We'll move into general public comment. During this time, the podium will be open. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please limit your trips to 1 to the podium, and you may speak on whatever your heart so desires. The podium's now open.
Okay, now that you guys have vacated the street, from what I understand, Hillsdale College is going to give us $300,000, $100,000 for 3 years, and then $1.7 million in an endowment, which should yield us another $100,000 per year, correct? We have new money. You divide that by 5,000, that's 20 residents that do not have to go through special assessment. 20 residents a year. You do that for 3 years, and then the $100,000 for the next year. We could actually cover those special assessments with new money that you didn't know was coming. So, on top of that, you talk about giving away free services. When I looked at the airport gives away a free car to the pilot who comes in. That's our public services that we've been giving away. They also give free snacks to everybody who comes into the airport. That car, we're paying the car. I don't know if there's payments on it. We're paying insurance, we're paying fuel. So we have now given away our free services that we could not give to, I don't even know what you guys actually voted on for the parade. I retired from the schools, I can tell you. That Monday is one of the best days. The kids love it. My husband's a veteran. He does volunteer work every Monday. But on Veterans Day, which is this Monday, or when the fair day, he will not do anything because he says that's his day. He's a Marine. My other son's a Marine that was in Afghanistan. So that really is a Veterans Day. People I know who are veterans, that is a really special day. He knows he gets in free. They treat him really good. I think that's it. Just, we found free money, or new money, that we can actually stop those special assessments with.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello again, Ray Briner, 73 East Sharp Street. I just wanted to come up, this wasn't on the agenda, but we did have the fly-in as part of the Hillsdale Exchange Club. We partner with the city of Hillsdale for Patriots Day, which is the Sunday that's closest to September 11th. We partner with Ginger, Mr. Mackey, and the city of Hillsdale to help bring people out to the airport and show them the benefits of the Hillsdale Airport. This year it was a little chilly. We usually like it to be about 70 degrees. I think in the morning it might have been in the 40s, so it was a little chilly. But we had about 600 people we fed breakfast to, which it's also a fundraiser for the Exchange Club, one of our biggest fundraisers for the year. So, and the city of Hillsdale gets the show off the airport. So we thank you for that. As far as the city boat hunting, if we don't have somebody hunting the airport, I would suggest it. I saw 11 different bucks out there the night before the fly-in, 11 different bucks. So if that's available, I would put my name on the list. So, but as far as that, I've been up here with you, some of you, some newer ones. Mr. Palladino, I appreciate you asking about buying a used chipper, because as you were bringing that up, I was sitting there scrolling through treechipper.com, something like that, looking at used chippers on a way to potentially save the city some money. But I also get where the DPS is coming from as far as buying new and having that warranty. So it's a hard job to do up here. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Ray. Any more public comment? James?
Hello, James Edward Thomas, 2200 Bar Street. Been about a year. I watch your guys' meetings. I find them very interesting. Thank you for televising them. I wish my local municipality would do the same. I think maybe it would be nice to reassess the situation with the Miller family. I'm a simple person, and when I hear the word permit, it means permitted. And when someone issues me a permit, I want to assume that that permit is good. I think that going back on your word on something like a permit is not good business. And I appreciate that it's very hard, and I probably am missing some key information. But, you know, it's Miller time, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Any more public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the podium. Move into city manager's report. Dave.
Thank you, Mayor. Just having a few things to kind of bring up to the council and the public. One was a big one over the last week or so where the Kiefer project did have a work stoppage, and we've been in constant contact with the developer and the contractor regarding that. And what had occurred was the columns at the front entryway were shifting, and purely speculation on my part, but you know they did crane in all the drywall and we're starting to do that work. That's some additional weight to the building under those older pillars. But so they caught that shift and they had a work stoppage to make sure that they could bring an engineer in to take a look at it and determine the fix and institute that fix. It was reported to me before the meeting that I believe the steel is intended to show up tomorrow, and they anticipate getting that installed over the next couple days and be back on the project probably by Thursday of this week. So it was a short delay, but it did raise some concerns in the community, and I just wanted to report that coming directly from Nick, the supervisor there, and from Grant of Seattle. Also, the city treasurer, Peter Merritt, did want me to report, and I reported to the finance committee, but summer tax collections were pretty strong. At the close of our statutory period, we were at about 87%, which is typical for us, in that ballpark, and it'll go up slightly, to about 92% is what we typically are sitting at. So that went well. As the mayor mentioned, we have Public Power Week coming up, and as part of that, MSCPA, which is Cold Water, Marshall, Clinton, and us, just want to bring to your attention, we did this last year, we're going to do it again. We're going to do a competitive fundraiser for breast cancer awareness, and that'll be during the week of the Public Power Week, where we compete. I would say Cold Water did win last year, but they had some pretty creative things like dunk the director of the BPU and other things that I don't see happening here. But hey, just say it. That is something just to keep in mind, and you'll hear more about that with Post as we get closer to that event. The audit work is done, and the tentative date for the presentation of the audit to the City Council is December 2nd. So at that meeting, the auditors will come and make a presentation to the City Council for that audit year. Also, some of you have asked about this in the past. We do have two last defined benefit plans that are going to be closed out from the MERS plans. They will be on the agenda, the next agenda. One is for the treasurer, and these were put in place long before Peter was here or I was here. One is for the treasurer, and one is for the city manager. The two last plans are defined benefit, but they take council action to close out. City manager plan will convert over to the defined contribution like the rest of the city plans, but the treasurer will just simply close. And that will be on the next agenda. And they will be closed to all new hires, so they effectively close that. The CDBG project, which was the water and sewer project, had one last component that needed to be finished, which was the pump or the lift station over on Marion Street. We've been waiting on the control panel right now. Control Logic has, in all forms, is taking extended times to get. We finally got those controls just, I think it was yesterday. So that project, once those controls are put in place, will be completed, and we will remove the barricades and whatnot for that department there. I don't know if many of you have seen, but the earthwork has started up on Albee. It's moving really well. So there are a lot of excited people that we've heard from the public and anticipating that story coming. So if you haven't seen it, they have moved a lot of earth, and that kind of starts their time frame. So it could be that we have a story that opens next spring. So that's the plan at least. As was mentioned by Commissioner Ingles, on Friday there was a tour of the Three Meadows duplexes. I think everyone who went in there was very impressed based on the conversations I had heard, the discussions that were had. That was a project kind of spearheaded by the Economic Development Corporation. And they were there, some on council were there, the county commission. So there was a good variety of folks that were involved. I think, again, everyone was pretty impressed, and my understanding is that if not all of them have already been spoken for, it's pretty close, the 6 that are there. That being said, EDC is working with a developer on the next phase of that, which is the actual subdivision on the north side of the Three Meadows existing homes. It's close to 60 lots is intended, and that's going through the planning commission. I know currently, or has got through, but that project will involve up to 80% of the homes will be for sale. 20% intended for lease, some additional lease like the first duplexes. So I know the EDC is pretty excited
that will be moving forward, and some of that stuff will be coming to the city council in the next couple of months. Also, lastly, just to report that the information on DART, the dial ride advertising on the buses has gone out here recently. So we've sent it out. We're going to start reaching out to particular entities that haven't asked questions that we know have been interested in actually advertising on the buses. So that will help offset some of the cost for the dial ride as a whole. So that being said, I will take any questions that council has.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions for city manager? Councilman Sharp?
How are we doing on the negotiations with the BPU?
Yes, that is moving along. I hope and anticipate that we have the IBW contract to come back to the council at the next meeting. That's my hopes.
Any more questions for Dave? Council comment? Councilman Saw?
Thank you, Mayor. I just would ask that if we're going to have no votes on something, that there is discussion. There were 3 no votes for the abandoned property or for accelerated forfeiture act, and I would have really appreciated understanding why you would have, if I had a fuller understanding, I might have been split. I don't know. I just, without any discussion, I don't know why you voted that way, so I would just appreciate that. And then on the one that I did vote no on with for the special assessment districts, it's not that I don't want those streets done, it's just that, Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, after the motion was passed, there was no more further council comment, we just went straight to a vote. And that's why I voted no, because I had another question. And so I would just appreciate us to be thorough in everything that we do. And speaking of being thorough, I do have a question for you, Tom, if you're willing to answer. So you asked the 2 gentlemen that work for Hillsdale College to abstain for the college vote for vacating the streets, which is fine, but could you help me understand the process for the abstentions? Because I was revisiting and I don't remember the actual ordinance, but isn't it that they're supposed to tell us, full council, and then we vote or determine if it's supposed to be, if it's actually a conflict of interest or not?
No, not in that circumstance. It would be illegal for them to vote on it. They would be violating the law if they voted on it.
Okay, so could you help me understand what I'm thinking about, where we're supposed to disclose if we work for an entity that we're voting on, and then council's supposed to,
So you should refer back to the memo that I provided that addresses those issues. There are different statutes that apply. So there is an act that relates to contracts between a public entity and a member of a public body, okay? Which would be if you work for an outfit and there is a contract that is going to be approved between the public body of which you are a member and your employer, then under that statute, there is a procedure, and there are a whole bunch of different provisions that determine whether or not you can participate in that and under what circumstance you can. And in those circumstances where you can, you have to explain your conflict, right? And in some circumstances where you can't, you have to explain your conflict. You have to actually make it public so that everyone knows why you are not going to participate in the determination of that specific issue. There is another statute called the State Ethics Act, and that has provisions that talk about things that might be a conflict of interest. And those types of things relate to can be because it's your employer, can be for various other reasons. In some of those circumstances, if a individual has a question as to whether or not they are subject to those provisions or are required to abstain, then that would get presented to the council for the council to determine. But in this particular instance, there's an Attorney General's opinion that says that under these circumstances where the city council sits as a quasi-judicial authority, meaning that you are being asked to do something like vacate a street, right? Make a change to a zoning ordinance, something like that, that an employee cannot vote on that. And so they run the risk of violating the State Ethics Act, and they can abstain for that reason, or should abstain for that reason.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Rob. Rob, I voted against the accelerated forfeiture act because I don't want to I don't want to lend my hand to making it easier for government to take some of these property from them. So I always want to err on the side of protecting the individual from government. That's why I did that. Appreciate you bringing up the stuff about the parade tonight. I feel like we've been talking about it a lot. I know you guys all familiar with the biblical tenet of straining a gnat and swallowing a camel. I feel like that we do a lot of that up here. And it drives me nuts. It does. I'm ready to pull my hair out, guys. We won't blink an eye on spending millions for an airport terminal or $100,000 for a wood chipper, and I'm guilty as anybody. I'm not pointing the finger, but then we'll bellyache for hours over a few $100s for a parade permit or a scarecrow event downtown. And I just think we need to turn back the clock on this, which has happened over the past year, and remember that those little things are really what make a community a community. And that's why I got on council, was for things like that. So, thank you for doing that tonight. And I hope we can look at that further. Yes, sir.
The airport didn't cost us millions of dollars. Our share was, most of it was for the state and the federal government. So don't say $1 million, please.
It's all tax dollars that's paid by us, Bruce, whether they're grants
And I'd also like to discuss that I was at the open house there, and there should have been more of us there that weren't there to see what the progress was. The city of Hillsdale is in desperate need of housing. I mean, you've got a market, it's about to explode here with work. With the college putting their hotel in a couple of years, they're gonna need 120 workers. You got Audis coming in, they're gonna need workers, that's good paying jobs. And someday, God help, the Kiefer House will get done. And that's all I can say about that. That's 30 possible jobs right there. So you're talking almost 200 people right now for more jobs that we're gonna need, and we don't have housing for them. And you can't look over to Coldwater because they're full, and they're exploding and growing. We need to look at the housing market. We also need to look, and I'm disappointed that we voted down even looking at the street thing again. So we got, in 2015 when Dave got on, we started looking at ways to fix these streets. That's all we heard about on council, find a way to fix these streets. Yeah, we had to go through and do a special assessment. That was the only way to do it. We looked at a city income tax, but that got shot down real quickly. Now we're going backwards again. So I don't see anything getting done on the streets for the next few years. Yeah, we're got money coming from the college going there, but will it be used and where will it be used and what will the priorities be for the streets? Who will be prioritized over this street being done over another street? That's what I want to put to this council, the next council that sits here. Because either way, if we pass this, I wouldn't be on council to vote for it anyway when it came to council to vote on special assessments. But at least we did do some streets in this town and we did make progress. Especially up in Westwood, I've been watching that like a hawk. It is progress. It's a $6 million project. We had to take bonds out. It's a good process. It worked. I don't know how we're gonna do the rest of these streets. That's gonna be on your guys' laps. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Any more council comment? Motion to adjourn? Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilwoman Pratt to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Meeting is adjourned.